about Georgia's defense? Why are they hard to run the ball against?
The number one thing that stands out is the ability to rotate so many different people at the line of scrimmage in that front seven. Just kind of like when you look at their defensive line, when you look at their linebacker core, the biggest thing is like it's constant new bodies as we go through the film, all the film from the year. You know, it's always a new body, new linebacker, new D lineman. They also do a really good job of shedding blocks. You know, those guys do a good job of two-gapping, playing through the defender and making sure they shed and get to the ball carrier. So, you know, obviously the speed is something that jumps out at you as well. You know, across the board, all those guys can run. So that's one of the things that I feel like that just stands out constantly against them.
Brent?
Coach, you guys have been so good against the run up until Saturday. When you watch the tape, what stood out about the struggles in the run game? What's kind of your message to your backs moving forward here?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was like the first quarter when you look at it, you know, we never really got into the rhythm of the game. I think we had 3 plays or so in the entire first quarter. So by the time we got the ball, it might have been 11 minutes again in the second quarter. So one thing is we just never were able to get, you know, true rhythm of the game from the running back position. I do think we have to continue to do a better job of pressing blocks, make sure we're reading it like we should. But once again, it kind of falls into not being in the rhythm, not being able to take some of those hits and see those different techniques and see that different wash of the defensive line that you can normally see throughout the course of the game. The biggest thing that we're going to say to the running backs is really just make sure we continue to prepare the way we're supposed to. You know, don't let that one game affect the way we finish this season off. We've done some really good things this entire season, so we got to make sure we continue to be adamant about the way we prepare and all those different things. You know, we're going to make a big emphasis on ball security is another thing we got to make sure we do. Obviously, we fumbled the ball, put one on the ground the other day. We haven't really done that the entire year, so that is going to be another emphasis of you know, doing the practice.
Vince, then Adam.
What did you guys see with the Dylan Sampson bumping into Joe Milton for that fumble? When you broke that down, what did that come down to?
You know, I think it's both parties. You know, one thing we talked about Dylan Sampson as a running back position, we always want to take accountability and see what we could have done better, you know, before we started looking at what actually happened on the play. And I think the biggest thing was we were playing on tempo, so we were trying to get lined up extremely fast. And then the second thing is Dylan was a little bit too tight to the quarterback. So one thing we always talk about is our alignment in the backfield. That's where everything starts, at being aligned in the right position. We as a running back group got to make sure our distance between us and the quarterback is spot on. Then there's some things from a fundamental standpoint, just the mesh, doing things like that we always do in practice from the first day that we got to continue to clean up on.
Regardless of the circumstances of why the run game didn't work, it obviously didn't work. There was, I'm sure, a lot of pride in your guys of how well y'all run the ball all year. Do you sense that pride is down a little bit? Is there frustration, or do they need to regain something that they lost in that game?
I really don't. You know, we've had a lot of success here, not just this year, but in the past running the football. And that's one game. You know, like we always tell players, you don't let one game define exactly what happens to you or who you are. And, you know, we did have success for those 3 hours and some change that we were on the football field the other night. That doesn't mean we're still not a really good offense. That doesn't mean we're not a really good running back core. The way these guys prepare, the attitude that they approach in the building every day, you know, that's something that we always take pride in. And that's going to be no different this week. You got to put that away, put it in the bank, you know, use it for later. Just never forget that situation that happened so it doesn't happen again. So we're just going to reset and refocus this week.
Mike up front, and then Casey in the back.
Yeah, Coach, Georgia went down their All-American middle linebacker, Javon Dumas-Johnson, a couple games ago. Probably won't play with a broken form. They got a couple of freshmen there that played the last game. What did you see from number 5 and number 33?
Yeah, really physical, like really physical bunch. Not only just those 2 guys, but the entire group of linebackers. They're active, they're athletic, they do a great job of flying to the football in pursuit, and then when they get there, they know how to finish plays. You know, when you play a team like Georgia, one thing is it's going to be tough to get yards after contact because they are so physical, they are so strong. So that's going to be a great challenge to the guys like Jalen Wright, Jabari, and Dylan to make sure that they have great pad level, that they're making sure they continue to drive their feet on contact. So those linebackers in Georgia, they don't want to give you anything. They're stingy, and we got to do a great job of matching that intensity.
So no difference with the freshmen from the.
No, I feel like, you know, you stick one of them in, they all look about the same. They all flying around.
Casey.
Going up against that Georgia defense, how do you make sure that you're maximizing the amount of yards that you can get every single carry?
We talked a lot in the running back room this week about draining everything we can out of running the football, not minimizing plays. That means if a play is blocked up for about 5 yards, we need to be trying to get 8, 9, 10 yards out of it. So if it's 2 or 3 yards, we need to get 4 or 5. So, trying to maximize every potential carry. That means in the backfield and also too on the perimeter. We've done some things in the past here that we throw the ball, pitch the ball to the outside, and we got to make sure we can stay out of those situations where it's going to be 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. You would love for the running back to do a great job of finishing through contact and making sure that we're in 1st down as opposed to 3rd and 1.
Patrick.
Coach, Jalen obviously he had some fumble issues, but they were a long time ago. He's been pretty clean in that front of the season. How did he handle the turnover the other day, and how did you handle it with him?
Well, one thing, we got great confidence in Jalen. And that one fumble, like I said, he hasn't fumbled the entire year. And it really wasn't a situation where it was, egregious about how he went about fumbling. He was a little bit off balance. He was trying to get to what we call the arm bar, get 2 hands on the ball and come down with it. And then the second guy came in kind of late. It looks like he put a helmet on. It's kind of hard to tell from the coach's view in the film. But it wasn't a situation where he did have really good ball security. He has to do a better job of squeezing the football when he gets in that position. Then, the second play, the first play, the second half, he comes out, some miscommunication going on, but obviously he could have caught the ball and it should have been on the ground. But, he got to learn how to reset, and I thought he did a good job. One of the reasons, as the course of the game kind of unfolded, Dylan Sampson kind of got in a rhythm. He had a couple of good runs, and, at the very back end of the game, it was cold. Felt like we were going like we always do, go with the hot hand. That's the only reason.
3 more, Vince, Casey, then Mike.
Coaches, Georgia does a lot of pre-snap movement there on that D-line with the stems and everything. What kind of challenges that present for your guys to, know their responsibilities and not react to that and get you guys behind the chain?
A lot of that is on the quarterback position, just to make sure he gives the offensive line time to go ahead and ID the fronts like he's supposed to. So a big part of it is on the quarterback, but as running back position, we got to make sure when they do steal, we got to understand how the fits change a little bit. We got to understand how the protection rules may change some if they do decide to steal. So really more about just understanding when we start a drive, and also too when it's potential clock stoppers. Sometimes we got to make sure that we kind of see the movement and still on alert of our pre-snap keys.
The amount of yards that Jabari Small has been getting out of per carry has been down the last 4 weeks. Is there anything he can do to increase his effectiveness in that regard, or has it just been kind of situational? It's really been situational. Jabari is a really dynamic football player. He hasn't had some of the explosive runs that he's had in the past, and that's not really because of him being less of a player or injury or anything like that. It's just about the opportunity when he gets in the game. For whatever the reason, he's been put in those situations where they're a little bit more 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. So obviously when it's those situations, you're going to run the ball in between the tackles a little bit more, and just hasn't been able to kind of pop one of some of those explosive runs that he had in the past. But it's really not anything to do with him per se. It's really just about the situation that he's been put into.
Coach, last time you played Georgia, it was a pretty loud environment. Communication was an issue. I think Coach Heupel acknowledged that after the game. Playing at home, does this give your players a better opportunity to communicate, maybe be more effective in the run game?
I think anytime we get a chance to play at Neyland Stadium, I think that's a great opportunity for us. Our crowd does a good job of being loud when the opponent's, in a 3rd down position, and they understand now, how to be somewhat quiet when we have the ball to make sure that we can communicate the way we need to. I think our guys really enjoy playing at home. I think they, that's an extra energy, an extra boost for those guys. We haven't played an SEC game here in a couple of weeks, so they're going to be fired up to come in. I think our crowd is going to be juicy. The players are obviously going to be excited to get back at home.
Thank you, Coach.
Like the in-game adjustments did not work in the second half against Missouri.
It starts, obviously always starts with us as coaches. We didn't get, obviously the adjustments that we thought we needed. We didn't get them done at the level we needed to. And then, with the players, I thought, going into, obviously game 10, we were great at pre-snap communication. That's one of the reasons we felt like we started playing better on defense. And I thought that didn't go well, particularly in the second half as far as recognizing formations and being able to adjust to them. And we have to get better at that. And that's at all 3 levels, from the D-line, linebackers, and secondary, where we were not on the same page, a couple times. And you got to give Missouri credit. They were able to take advantage of it when we weren't as sound as assignment-wise as we needed to be.
David?
Why teams struggle to pressure Carson Beck so much, Georgia's here?
I mean, they've only given up, I think, 9 sacks through 10 games. I think their offensive line does a tremendous job. They have really good players up front, and he's very good with the ball in hand. He knows when to get rid of it, recognizes pressures, and he's athletic enough to get out of the pocket and extend plays. Which is something that obviously teams are going to struggle with because of their athletes that they have on the perimeter. When you go with the tight ends and the wideouts and even the running backs in the passing game, he's got some great outlets, but he can extend plays and he recognizes defense's intentions pre-snap. So I think it all starts with him. He's doing a really good job.
Brent?
Coach, with that being said, obviously Missouri got it out in the flats, the running backs, got it across the middle some. What's the adjustment from there? What do your linebackers, what do they need to take away from the shortcomings there at Missouri and translate that into this week?
It goes back to what we said. We're multiple on defense, and it comes back to pre-snap communication. There was a couple times we lost leverage based off of what we were doing, and it put us in bad situations to make those plays out in the perimeter. But it's still no excuses. When we got out there, we did not make the plays. We missed way too many tackles out in the perimeter when we got out there, whether we were in bad position or not. Job is to get the guy on the ground, and we did a poor job, as the second level defenders of, getting those guys on the ground before they got to first downs, whether it had been second and long or third down. We did a poor job there. So, it comes back to the pre-snap communication. It comes back to being in the right position, but still at the end of the day, we have to tackle better when they get out there.
Mike, then Patrick.
Coach, last year you identified Georgia's tight ends and you held Brock Bowers to just 27 yards. He only had, I think his longest catch was 10 yards. I mean, this is an All-American guy. What's the secret? I don't think Darnell even had catch. How did the tight ends look this year, and why is Tennessee so good against Brock Bowers?
Well, man, you said that, I didn't. He's to me, he's one of the better tight ends. I've been doing this for a long time. He's one of the better tight ends I've seen, in person and on video. The natural pass catching ability, the ability to separate is as good as most wide receivers. I'm not going to sit here and say we designed the defense to try to slow him down. I don't think anybody can. I think the targets come as the offense sees to target him, and I think Georgia has won 2 national championships for a reason, because they adjust to what defenses are doing. But give them all the credit in the world. Came back against Ole Miss last week and was able to catch a touchdown pass and didn't look like he skipped a beat. If you ask anybody on our defense, we know how talented he is, and our hope is to contain him. I would never sit here and say we were able to stop him. You know what I mean? I think that's credit to what Georgia does, that they're going to take what defenses are giving them, and they feel like they have talented players at a bunch of different spots that they can attack defenses in different ways.
Patrick and Adam.
Coach, how did you sort of evaluate how Elijah did in the game and how he kind of responded from Saturday?
He was part of the problem. He wasn't the only problem, I would say that. And like I said, we always start with what we could do better, and I'm always going to start with what I could do better. And that's why I keep mentioning the pre-snap communication. When you have young, inexperienced guys at certain positions, you have to be able to help them. Our veteran guys, have to be able to recognize the formations, alert them, help them with checks and those things, and that's not letting them off the hook at all. But, we didn't do that as a whole team, and I think that was part of the struggle with us on defense. And then obviously Elijah did not tackle well, especially in space. And, we always reevaluate everything that we're doing, starting with us as coaches. How can we make it easier for them? What can we do better to put them in better position to be successful? But he understood, some of the mistakes that he made and some of the miscues that really led to big plays. And I expect him to come back and bounce back in a big way this week.
In the defense that y'all played most of the night, was the box lighter in this game than it had been before? And secondly, did Missouri have a lot of exotic looks? Is that why the pre-snap communication was off?
No, and I give Coach Drinkowitz and that offensive staff all the credit in the world too. I'm not gonna take away from what they did, because they did, put us in some situations where we lost leverage and we felt like we didn't get an extra hat to the run game. But like I said, we're multiple. We do a lot on defense, and we've played with light boxes before where guys, have to end up beating a block because the numbers don't always match up. We're not always just an 8-man or a 7-man front where we bring an extra guy in. We feel like that's one of the reasons we've had a little bit of success this year, is because we've been multiple and we've been able to stop the run with lighter boxes. But I don't think Missouri did anything out of the ordinary, exotic. They did put stress on us as far as the formations and getting adjusted to them, but it's nothing that we haven't seen. We just didn't adjust to them as fast and as effective as we have in the past.
Last two, Vince and Casey.
Two quick things. What's your balance with your guys in terms of what you're coaching? Effort, energy, focus versus actual scheme?
It always starts with that. I always say I'm an old school guy. I still remember the Ravens teams from when Ray Lewis was there, and they had one of the best defenses in the world. I sat there, and I tell these guys the story all the time. I sat and watched a clinic with Marvin Lewis, and he went over what was supposed to happen on tape, what gaps and what responsibilities are guys are supposed to have on defense. And then when I turned on that tape, it looked nothing like that. But when the ball was snapped, they had 11 guys going to the ball with extreme effort and playing with relentless effort, and that made up for it. And we always gonna, and I say we, us as a staff, starting with Coach Heupel, are always gonna put a premium on max effort, playing with relentless effort, because that's gonna, overcome some of the, blocking schemes. There's good coaches everywhere. They're gonna diagnose what we're doing, and they're gonna obviously formulate some offenses to put us in bad situations. The way you overcome that is with relentless effort and a will that's going to keep you from getting blocked. And I always want to believe that.
And what can you say about Georgia's running back specifically?
Very, very talented group. Thought they probably had one of their better performances. I know they had been banged up. They've had a couple different guys in the backfield. I thought they played a complete game last week against Ole Miss. And I thought Milton really looked like he's starting to bounce back. I know he was a little dinged up. He had some really explosive runs. And I've been saying since last year, I think the Dejon Edwards kid doesn't get enough credit for how well he runs the ball. You can tell there's a high trust factor with him. They put him in critical situations, and he does an unbelievable job, one cut and making the first guy miss. I think, they've had a high standard at running back, these last couple of years, and I don't see any difference, this year.
Is the pre-snap communication easier to execute at home at all?
You know what? It's funny that you asked that question, because it's literally, when we're on defense, it's louder at home. When you're on the road, it's quieter on the road. So it should be opposite, right? It should be opposite, that pre-snap communication should be better on the road. But I want to make sure I answer this the right way, because we still want our crowd to be very, very loud when their offense is out there. It's one of those things where I think the chaos that's at Neyland, I think it stresses the offense some too. So the pre-snap communication is still at a high level at home, and we have to go a little bit above and beyond to get that communication. And I think that might make us better, where when it's on the road and their crowd does a good job of staying a little more quiet when the offense is out there, we have to still do a great job. And it's one of those things where, and maybe because of the intensity of the situation at home, we do a better job, but we still need to do a better job on the road. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.